welcome. It's great to have all of you. But there's a new mama that wanted me to go over what to do to respond to contractions in each stage of labor. Okay, let's get into it. Some of the best tips that I have discovered throughout my years to help you go into each stage of labor when it comes to responding to contractions, feeling confident, and having tools to do so. So the first would be in the practice stage, where you're getting those practice contractions. This can start happening anytime in the third trimester, sometimes even in the second trimester, moms will start getting some of those practice contractions as you're getting further along in pregnancy. So for my moms that are like 30, 4, 5, 6 weeks and beyond, probably when you get those contractions, you might feel like a little pressure, you might feel like some pressure on your pelvis, you might feel like, something in your back, like a little bit more discomfort than someone who's 28 weeks will. If you're getting those contractions and you feel like, wow, it's like a little intense, I feel a lot of that tightening in my belly, I feel a little bit of discomfort in my back, or like any of those things kind of come up, what I invite you to do is just to practice responding to that practice contraction by relaxing. This is a practice contraction for your uterus. It's toning your uterus. It's bringing your baby down. It's normal. It's part of the normal physiologic process. It's also an opportunity for you to practice responding to contractions. So we feel the contraction, then we go, oh, I'm going to respond to this by dropping my jaw, relaxing my shoulders, and taking a big deep breath in. I'm going to feel happiness in my heart. Imagine my baby in the perfect position, descending, right? Whatever you want to do to put you in a positive mind state that is slowly going to build your relationship to contractions as being something that is positive instead of like, oh, another one. They're so uncomfortable. They're so difficult. It's okay to have those thoughts and feelings, by the way, because everyone does. But if we can also invite ourselves to go like, maybe I could just lean into this. Maybe I could practice creating something positive, right? To respond to this in a positive way, to say affirmations in my head. That's really effective because then we've built some of that practice. And so it can kind of default later in labor because you've built that pathway. The next step would be the early labor phase. So when you're in early labor, what I invite you to do first is invite yourself to take a moment to get into sort of a meditative state. You don't have to stay this way all day. You don't have to like meditate with like mantras playing in your house and like candles everywhere. Like you could be in early labor all day long or all night long. If it's nighttime, please try to sleep. If you have a contraction and you're sleeping and you wake up to the contraction, take your slow deep breaths, use your positive affirmations, and try to go back to sleep. If it's daytime, we want to alternate between rest and movement. And so move when you want to move, rest when you want to rest, and approach all of this with curiosity. How does my contraction feel when I move in this position? How does my contraction feel when I get in this position? When I stand up, if I move my hips side to side, how does that feel? So we're inviting an opportunity for you to connect to your body and develop a dialogue. Hey body, how does it feel when we do this? How does it feel when we do that? So we're approaching it with curiosity intentionally and deliberately instead of approaching it with fear or resistance. The next step that I invite you to do would be any kind of breathing to help you kind of start off in that meditative state. Like I said before, we want to alternate between rest and movement, but it's ideal to at some point just like, okay, I'm going to just like drop in, let the day go, connect to myself, maybe before you kind of go on about the other things that you want to do that day in early labor. So we want to get into that meditative state. You can listen to affirmation tracks. You can do breathing. There's lots of different things you can do. Let's talk about breathing. So there are 2 different breathing techniques that I'm going to teach you. I find that breathing techniques are honestly not the most helpful thing when you're actually in labor, like the counting techniques. I have not seen moms use counting techniques. I haven't myself used counting techniques because when I'm in labor, my thinking brain turns off and I'm not really wanting to count. And I know moms who have, moms have told me they've used it and that it's been really helpful for them. So there's definitely nothing wrong with using it. When we're in active labor, I find that using breath more just to help you relax and to take slow, deep breaths in general is better than trying to count, but it's up to you. So let's focus specifically on these for early. You can always try them in active later if you want to and see if that helps, but we will cover some different kinds of breathing for active. So when you're in early labor, you could do the box breathing. The box breathing means that you are breathing out for 4. So take a big deep breath in your nose, out for 4. That's box breathing. You could also do the elongated breathing, which is where you do a big deep breath in for 4, and then out for longer. That's as far as I can go right now without practicing. So that is a really great practice, either one of those, for helping you to tell your nervous system that it's safe to relax. Because when we are in a state where we have to be in fight or flight, like if there's a tiger in front of us, we gotta go. So we're gonna be like, right, like, cause you need to breathe to pump, to get more oxygen, to like do the functions that you need to do to like get away from a threat. When you are in a rest and digest place in your nervous system, you're gonna be taking slow, deep breaths. So for someone who's taking slow, deep breaths, you're telling your nervous system that you're safe, because we don't just sit there going, we're not doing that when we're in danger. So we want to be telling our nervous system that everything is safe. You can know everything is safe in your mind, but sometimes the body and the brain doesn't quite know that yet. And so this is something that can cause early labor to feel harder, longer, more painful. It could cause early labor to stall, to like fizzle out and come back. If we have fear and we're not addressing it, if we have stress, we're in a stressful environment. So the breathing sometimes can help to tell our nervous system, hey, we actually are safe. That text message that we're getting from our mother-in-law that's like, when's the baby coming? That's like stressing you out. Or the fact that you ordered dinner and then they called and said they're out of the thing that you wanted, or whatever, like stressful thing. Your brain might be like, tigers, but really it's just like life stress that's causing you to release some adrenaline in the body. So telling yourself, hey, everything is okay, walking away from stressors as much as possible so you can enter this really like meditative, relaxed state is important. The next thing that you can do would be to create a conversation with your contractions. So we're going to use affirmations. We're going to speak to our contractions. When you're in active labor, the contractions are going to be much more intense. In early labor, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to lay out the groundwork or the approach, the foundation for how we're going to respond to contractions later on. So in early labor, you can say to the contraction, I welcome you. Hi, contraction. I love the way this feels, right? Like tell yourself, I love the way you feel. Yes, thank you, contraction. Like you're so thirsty and you're finally drinking water. I'm so relieved to have you here. Like I'm so excited. My baby is coming. To acknowledge that your contraction is made by your body. Wow, body, thank you for this contraction. If you're a prayerful person or a spiritual person, you can say, thank you, Jesus, for this contraction. Thank you, Divine Mother, for this contraction. Thank you, Earth and Nature, for this contraction, right? You can pray and say these prayers of gratitude to the contractions. This is going to start your labor off in a completely different place than someone having contractions and being like, oh God, or freaking out or tensing up, which is okay if you have those feelings, but we don't want to stay with them. We want to notice them and then go through, for those who know my framework for this, to witness, validate, and love. Oh, I see that I'm having fear. It's okay to have fear. I love you. I'm going to let myself feel it. I'm going to move past it. And then I'm going to get back to what it is that we're doing, or maybe get some support from a support person around it, right? So we don't want to just linger in fear. It's okay for it to come up. But ultimately, the conversation we want to be having with ourselves and our body is, you are perfect. You are made to do this. I can't wait to experience my contractions. I trust you. I believe in you, right? Imagine if you went into labor at the very beginning with each contraction, celebrating that contraction, saying, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. And that is going to create that foundation. So when things get more intense, we're going to keep saying it. I trust you, I trust you, I celebrate you, right? And you might get to a point where you're like, I actually don't celebrate this anymore. This is really hard. Also, you could not get to that part. You could just be like, wow, this is amazing the entire time, because some women do have those ecstatic labors where they aren't feeling pain. And if you do get to a point where you are struggling with pain and it does feel hard, you always have that conversation that you can fall back on. And sometimes, even in hard moments in active labor, for me, in my hardest moments, the only thing that got me through was me saying out loud, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Because I was like, I can't do this, but I was doing it. It's kind of like the body can do more than we even know that we can do because our mind only understands so much of what we're capable of. And so you could like be running a marathon and be like, oh my God, I can't do this. But then you finish it and you're like, I did it. I didn't know I could do it. You know, birth is very, very similar. So sometimes we just have to like, we're facing our own self-doubt and we're struggling with that. So we just need to go back to that foundational conversation. I trust you, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, right? And it can be helpful sometimes to have your support person say that to you so that like you can kind of just pay attention to what they're saying to kind of help you. That conversation can continue. Those affirmations can continue by you just hearing them and trying to keep your attention on them instead of you initiating it if it gets to that point. So the next thing that I'd love for you to do in early labor is the body scan meditation. We're going to use this later in active labor as well. But in early labor, if you can practice this body scan meditation, it's giving you this opportunity to enter birth from this place of awareness around like all the different parts of your body and the relaxation. It's kind of like we're warming up before we run a marathon. We're warming up our mind and our tools. You know, before people go into ceremony, often they will do things specifically, like they'll do a cleanse, they'll like pray, they'll, you know, do some kind of practices, leave offerings. It's like we're getting into that space, we're calling in those energies before we actually go into the ceremony. You know, birth is very similar. It's like the early labor gives you this opportunity for the warm up, and you have this really special time to kind of get clear on like, okay, how am I going to orient myself going into this experience? We want to start off labor if we can. Sometimes we kind of like go quickly into active labor, but if we have the time, we want to go into it from this place of like, I'm relaxed, I'm calm, I'm having a positive conversation with myself. I'm taking my slow, deep breaths and telling my nervous system that I'm safe. And maybe I spent a little time in a meditation state or just getting into that calm state or like a positive state of mind by listening to an affirmation track or doing a guided meditation or something like that. These are all really great things that we can do. So going back to the body scan meditation, this is a way of warming up your connection to your body. Start at the top of your head and go like, okay, where is tension here? And move down into your ears. Can I release tension here? What about the back of my neck? Can I release tension? Can I expand? Can I soften into my chest, into my belly, my hips, my legs, all the way down to my toes? And you can spend a few minutes doing this. You can spend 20 minutes doing this. You could do it just as quickly as I just did. If you can do it quickly. For me, I feel like, okay, I need to spend some time, especially in certain parts of my body where I hold more tension. So guiding yourself through that or listening to my body scan meditation is a great thing to do in early labor. So to summarize for early labor, we want to practice our breathing, going into a meditative state by listening to an affirmation track or guided meditation or doing something that puts us in a positive frame of mind. The body scan meditation and the conversation. If we have any fear come up, we can do that witness, validate, love tool. If you have fear come up, you can also talk to a support person about it and help like have a conversation to help you process it. You could also do tapping. And tapping would be just like going through, and if you're in my course, this is something that you'll learn at some point. There's a video on it. It's at the end of the overcoming fear video. And tapping is when we go through all these different parts of our body. I'll show you really quickly. That can just help you rewire your nervous system to help you work through fear. And it's very effective and it works very quickly. It's super awesome. So basically what you do is you start at the top of your head and you go like, I'm going to tap, tap, tap up here for a minute, just while I'm kind of concentrating on the fear, the thing that I'm worried about, or even talking about it. And tap above my eyebrows, and then the sides of my eyes, under my nose, under my lip, collarbone, and then karate chop, I think is what they call this one. If that's too much for you to do, you could just do your collarbone, and that's okay. Sometimes it's easier to be like, I'm just going to do my collarbone. You could go to AI and be like, I'm having a fear of tearing. Can you write me a quick tapping script? And it'll give you a tapping script. That can be helpful if there's something specific. But tapping is really just about talking about the thing you're worried about while you're telling your nervous system that you're safe. I'm really worried that birth is going to be so painful. And I feel this fear in my chest. And it's okay to be afraid. I love myself and I trust myself and I know that my body was made to do this, right? So it's just like you kind of talking yourself through the fear while you're doing the tapping. And it works really well for a lot of people. That's a really great tool. The next stage would be Active labor. When we're in active labor, we want to focus on 3 things around our contractions to make the contractions easier. And that is our body, our breath, and our mind. So first, let's talk about the body. Like I was talking about in early labor, it's fun to approach contractions with curiosity. How does it feel to move this way? How does it feel to move that way? We can do the same thing when we're in active labor. Active labor is a little bit less voluntary. In early labor, there's like, I could try this, I could try this. In active labor, sometimes we could try this, could try that. Other times it's like, I have to be in hands and knees or I'm not okay. There's no other place for me to be, and that's okay. We want to be getting in positions that feel good for you. If that doesn't feel good, try something else. Approach it with curiosity. Recognize that when it comes to moving your body in labor, your body will tell you how to move and you'll get this feeling often, like instinctively, I need to be this way, I need to be that way, most of the time. Every once in a while, someone might be able to step in to give you a little support if there is a positioning challenge and we want to be doing specific things to help correct that. But most of the time, your body will know what to do and will tell you, I feel the best in this position, I feel the best in this one. Rest when you want to rest. Move when you want to move. Now, when you have a contraction, we want to focus on being in an orientation in our body that is best helping us to relax into the contraction. And so sometimes being upright is the best position. We can sway and move, and that can feel really good. Other times during a contraction, it's like I have to hold still. Moving is too hard. It makes me nauseous. It doesn't feel good. I don't like to move. In which case, we might want to be in a position where maybe you could be in hands and knees leaning over a birth ball and just like feel like my pelvis is opening, I'm relaxing, and I'm just going to hold still and let this contraction wash through me. Other times, moms feel like I'm just really tired and I need to rest. Rest when you need to rest. So lying on your side with your leg on a peanut ball is a really great place to rest. You can rest upright with your body leaning over a birth ball, but if that feels like it's not restful enough, the side lying with a peanut ball is great. And when you're in that position, focus on I'm just completely relaxing and resting. When the contraction comes, then if you're not using your body to move, because sometimes using the body is what really helps moms cope with labor, and now we don't have that anymore. We need to focus on other coping tools. That might be someone putting pressure on your back in a side lying position. That might be your breath, or it might be your affirmations, or a combination of many of those things. So this is taking me into the next one, which is breath. With breath, we want to use it in a couple of different ways in active labor. One is to tell our nervous system that we're safe by taking slow, deep breaths. Also to oxygenate our body and our baby by taking slow, deep breaths. Panting and heavy breathing is sending oxygen out of your body because you're not giving your body the opportunity to assimilate that oxygen. You're like getting it out before it has a chance to go in, and you might feel dizzy a little bit after doing that. So we want to give our body the chance to be well oxygenated by taking slow, deep breaths. And we want to tell our nervous system that we're calm and everything is okay, so our body can keep releasing the oxytocin and all the good hormones that we need. The next thing that you can do with breath is to use it to help you focus and cope with a contraction specifically. Some people do the counting. You can try that out if you want to. I personally have found that just focusing on my breath moment by moment, I'm in this moment breathing in, I'm in this moment breathing out, and I'm in the next moment breathing in, and then the next moment breathing out. And we're just taking it moment by moment. Sometimes that's what we have to do when we're in labor, just about getting through this moment and then getting through the next one. So breathing in, taking a slow, deep breath in, and then breathing out, a slow, deep breath out. But put all of your attention on the breath. You can be doing like other things and kind of have your attention partially on that, partially not. Put your attention fully on your breath and focus on that completely as much as you can to help you cope. So I'm just breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out, right? And so that is a tool that you can use to help you cope. That is really helpful, especially if you're resting, so you're not using your body to move during contractions. Another way that you can use your breath to support you with contractions would actually be to help you rest in between the contractions, so the next one is easier. So when you have a contraction end, what I invite you to do is to take a slow, deep breath in and then go, ah. This is called a cleansing breath. So you can make an audible sound if you want to, or you could just go like a slow, big. The purpose is that this breath is like ending what we were doing before, and you're cleansing, releasing any tension that you were holding so that we can move into your rest and relaxation phase better. So we're taking a big deep breath in and going, relax, 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 right? Relaxing everything. And then we're just going to be like, I'm resting. I'm resting. We're not worrying about stuff. Hopefully we're not talking to a lot of people about stuff. We're just fully relaxing as best as you can so that when the next contraction comes, it will come when you are feeling relaxed and your muscles are soft. And that's going to make that contraction so much more effective. Another thing that you can do, it's like part of breath, is sound, right? So when we have a contraction, making sounds that are low is one of the best ways to help you cope with labor. If like you have to make the sound that you have to make, and some moms are like, this is just the sound I have to make. And I know it sounds like I'm not coping well, but I am. It's just like, this is what needs to come out of me. And like, that's okay. Most of the time, if moms are like, ha, ha, you know, like that, and it's escalating, going up, it means that they're not coping with labor very well. Not always, but that's quite common, like something that I see often. So as a doula and a birth worker, if I ever notice someone sending their sounds up, what I would do is I would invite them to bring their sounds down. Take slow, deep breaths, make low sounds, bring your sounds low. Oh, oh, right, and try to guide it down. And the mom might be like, oh, you know, like I want to keep it up, but like we're going to bring it down with your support. That can be really helpful. When you make low sounds, I've seen myself do this in birth. It's like your body relaxes into that. When we go, oh, it's like the body wants to respond to that by relaxing. When you relax your throat, when you drop your jaw, the body responds by relaxing as well. Focus on making your sounds low. I remember with my first birth, I was like, like at one point I was kind of I was fighting it a little bit. And then I remembered like, make low sounds. And I just went as low as I could. I noticed my whole body just like relaxed into it. And the contraction was suddenly so much easier. It's really hard to resist when you're making a low sound, when you're taking low breaths, right? Or slow breaths, right? So that is breathing and sound. The next would be your mind. So we want to be using the mind as a support, right, to help us cope with contractions. And sometimes we have to fake it till we make it by, if you're in a minute of intensity or moment of that, telling yourself, I love this. I love giving birth. I love my contractions, even if you're lying to yourself, because what's happening there is you're saying to yourself again and again and again that you can do it, and you're inviting yourself to feel more positive about what you're experiencing, even if you're wanting to go into like, this is really hard, I can't do it, I can't do it. If there's that part of you that's like, I don't know if I can do it, and you just keep saying, I've got this, I was made to do this, I love this, I'm going to meet my baby soon. Sometimes it's like, I feel like I'm kind of lying to myself, but this is keeping me on track, if that makes sense. There are other times where maybe you're not going through a hard moment and you are just enjoying having your contractions and you're feeling really great going throughout labor. In that case, the affirmations are really just going to enhance supporting you and continuing to feel safe, and even support you in accessing really beautiful experiences during birth. It is very, very mind over matter. And so if you start to tell yourself, I can't do this, I wasn't made for this, something bad's going to happen, like, you know, and kind of going into the fear, then we start to, with our attention, follow along that path, and then our body responds by having more tension and then having more pain. So instead, if we can say, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. If we can say soft, open, soft, open, right? Like these are things you can chant to yourself during birth. I release control. I release control. I release control. I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. It's like even in an experience that feels really intense, you are choosing to stay on the course and you're keeping yourself there. And even if part of you feels like, I don't know about this, right? And that allows you to continue to relax, to drop your jaw, to drop your shoulders, to relax your body, because you're telling yourself you can relax, and you're telling yourself again and again and again. Even if you want to close up, you keep reminding yourself again and again and again that you can do that. And that can be really, really helpful. Birth is not inherently painful. It is sensational, and it can be very, very painful. And I think it's important that we're all prepared for that, because if you are experiencing pain during a contraction, you know, sometimes changing positions, getting the TENS unit, getting in the water, working through some fear, that might help change it and it's not super painful anymore. Or it could still be super painful no matter what you do. And I've personally experienced a pain-free birth and an extremely painful birth. So I know that both are possible, but all 3 times I was able to have an unmedicated birth because I had the tools, even in those hard moments, to go through pain. And that is the part that a lot of people don't really learn about or don't feel prepared around. So I want all of you to go into your birth with this expanded perspective of like, I could experience anything. I could have an orgasm. I could be in like just absolute bliss. It could be a beautiful experience, or I could be in a ton of pain. Am I going to be okay with that? What's going to help me get through pain if that's what I'm experiencing, right? And thinking about that, building relationships to any of those fears, creating a plan for how you're going to navigate that. All of that is really important. But when it comes to an experience where maybe you are in a lot of pain and there's nothing is working to make it go away or really reduce it, but you still really want to have an unmedicated birth. This is what happened to me with my second when I went through transition. And I realized in that moment, I can't go over this. I can't go under this. And oh gosh, I can't go around it either. I tried. I was like, what if I, all the ways that I could escape it. And then I finally realized the only way I can get out of this is to go through it. That's the only way I can go through it. And so what I have to do then is to find a way for me to feel safe and relaxed going through pain in every single moment. So I was like, without my brain really thinking about this much because my mind was very much turned off, but I basically realized like, I'm going to need something to help me get through this. So I just said to my husband, tell me life is worth it. Many of you have heard this story. I needed to hear that. And he was saying life is worth it, life is worth it. And that touched on something that was so real and emotionally charged for me. The feeling of purpose. That's what it touched on. It wasn't anymore like your body was made to do this, kind of general birth affirmation. He said something that touched on something that brought up emotional charge in me, reminded me of what I was doing in the first place. Because sometimes when we're in a lot of pain, we forget and we want it to be done. We're like, I want it to be over, right? And I was having a home birth, so I wasn't getting an epidural. I thought about getting in the car and realized that wasn't going to happen. So I was like, okay, we have to stick this out here. And in that moment, when I was reminded of my purpose, it's that mind over matter thing. I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. Like if this is what I have to give in exchange for the gift of my child, then I can do this. I can do this. With my first, I was also going through transition. It was this pain-free birth, but I got to a moment where my coping tool wasn't working for me anymore. And many of you who have heard my speech on the 3 R's have heard me say that you find a rhythm, and then when the rhythm doesn't work anymore, then we just have to find a new rhythm. We just have to do something else. And so my rhythm wasn't working anymore. And then I was like, oh God, am I okay? Sometimes it's when the doubt comes up because you're like, it's getting really hard, but it just means you need to find a different rhythm. So I was in that place in between rhythms where the current thing I was doing wasn't working. And I was like, oh, this is getting kind of hard. And I looked at my husband and I was like, look in my eyes and ooh with me. Make the sounds with me. And so we were looking in each other's eyes and we were going, and then suddenly it felt like love was bursting through my body. It was amazing. It was not pain anymore. There was no more pain. It was suddenly like the most intense moment of labor became the most pleasurable and ecstatic and intimate. I felt like I was transcending worlds. I felt like the power of love itself was just pouring through my body and like expanding me, right, from the inside. But it wasn't like being ripped open or anything that the kind of language that people use. It was just this gentle flower blossoming of love within me. And it was powerful, but so beautiful and painless. And it was because I found the rhythm that was helping me feel safe, connected, and supported. We need to feel safe, connected, and supported when we're going through birth. And so if you're ever at a point during contractions where you feel like, I can't do this anymore, this is getting really hard, or you're experiencing a lot of pain, sometimes we really are at our pain threshold, and that's a real thing that I don't want to play down, because sometimes getting an epidural is the right tool for some people, are using IV opioids or nitrous or some kind of medication. But a lot of the time, when someone is struggling, they just need to find a new rhythm, and they just need to feel safe, connected, and supported. And it is that emotional and mental support that helps us get into that mind over matter place where we're like, oh yeah, this is my purpose. I remember what I'm doing. I'm birthing a baby. This is going to be worth it. Or, oh, I feel so connected to my husband. We're like birthing a family and this is beautiful and I love him so much. You know what I mean? Like those were two of my experiences that like really transformed hard moments for me into something that felt like pleasurable and joyful and ecstatic. And it was just simply through the mind over matter. Nothing changed in my body. I stayed in the same position. It was like this moment it was bad and this moment it was completely different. And it was just the lens that I was holding through it. So we can interpret our contractions very differently, like person to person, depending on like what's going on. If I have a lot of fear and resistance and I go into birth with that, I'm going to be interpreting my contractions as really painful. If everyone around me is expecting me to be in pain, is asking me to rate my pain on a scale from 1 to 10, I am going to find pain for sure. But if I go into birth, like I am going to experience whatever I was meant to experience. All of it is perfectly crafted by my body to help me become the best mother that I can be for my baby. And I don't understand why it's going to go the way it's go, or, you know, like why. All I know is that it's perfect and it's going to be the way that it's meant to be. And I trust that. I trust my body. I trust my baby, and let's get into it, right? That like level of surrender allows us to have that flexibility and openness to maybe even have an orgasm or experience this ecstatic bliss, right? Or maybe experience a lot of pain, but through that, find purpose, find tools, find connection, safety, and support, so that as we're going through pain, we're like, this is what I was meant to go through. My body knows what to do. I am safe, and my baby's going to be in my arms soon, right?